This is a new video combining two different techniques, and I'm going to make some projects here using Aquacast. Now these are the instructions for Aquacast. Aquacast is it's like a mixture of concrete or plaster or Paris sort of material. You mix it with water and it hardens after a very short period of time. Now I'm just going to take my measurements here. It's the ratio of 100 grams of powder to 30 grams of water, or 35 grams depending on the temperature in the room, things like that. But you've got a lot of flexibility there. So I'm measuring out probably about 500 grams worth into a number of different cups, so I can do a number of different projects. So I measure out 200 grams into one of these reusable plastic cups, and I'll measure out 70 grams of water into another cup, and then I'll mix it together and combine it. And you can add pigments to it, you can add other embellishments to it. I want to make a number of molds here. I've got a couple of coasters, I've got a large, sort of, I suppose like a placemat Monstera leaf mold, and I've got a tea light holder here as well. So I'm going to make a number of these things over a number of videos. This one specifically is going to be about the Monstera leaf and the tea light holder, because there's something I want to try with this that I've been waiting to do for a long time now, and that is to use my Glowforge laser engraver to engrave a design onto one of these pieces. So it's like engraving onto a tile or a coaster, a slate coaster. I know you can do that with a CO2 laser, and I wanted to check to see if I could do that with Aquacast. There's other brands as well. Jesmonite has been around for quite a long time, and I've seen this engraving done on Jesmonite before. I've seen engravings done on Aquacast before, but I wasn't too sure. There was no way of verifying for sure if it was safe, because you have to be very careful about what you engrave. But I actually reached out to Eli-Chem, who make this, and they spoke to their chemists and came back to me with confirmation 100% that it is safe to engrave on. So as with anything, it's at your own risk, but you can engrave in it. So I'm excited about this. And here I've got some Jesmonite pigments, just the basic colours, blue, yellow. I've got black and a red there. And then making a Monstera leaf, I want to make something green. So I'm going to mix a bit of the blue and the yellow together to create a green colour. Just going to guess it, just guesswork at the moment. There we go, a nice, very dark green there. I thought that's a perfect shade of green actually. Came out well. So now I fill the moulds up. It's like a thick syrupy mixture, and once you've poured that in, move it around, just tap the mould, move it around a bit, and make sure it gets into all the crevices, check for any air bubbles, give it a tap around the edges like I'm doing here. And it's so easy to use, it's good fun. I've got slightly different shades of green here because I've used two different cups, so I'm kind of mixing them together a bit, but a bit messy as you can see, but it's so easy to clean up as well because it's water-based, it dries very quickly, and you can then just wipe it away with a cloth. I'm just filling the tea light holder here. Didn't quite have enough there to fill it right to the top, so I needed to mix up a little bit more and guess the colour, get it as accurate as possible. Not that it really matters, doesn't matter if it's two shades. So I'm mixing this new smaller batch up just to top it off, and leave it to one side to cure. It'll take about 60 minutes to an hour and a half to cure, to demold it, and then about 24 hours to fully cure, but you can demold it after, like I say, 60 to 90 minutes. And this was about 2 hours later, so I'm demolding both of these now. You see that one there, the tea light holder, it looks like it's cracked, it's crazy. It doesn't look like it's cured properly at the top there. I'm not too sure. It could be that I'd maybe put too much of the pigment in there, or it could be that I didn't mix it properly, I rushed a bit and it didn't quite combine well enough and didn't cure properly, but the Monstera leaf looks good. I did overfill it a tiny bit, but it's not a problem because the excess can be scraped away very easily. So I'm just going to carefully peel it out the mold here. It comes out easily, but I want to make sure, because it's fairly thick, but I want to make sure I don't pull too hard and make too much mess or snap something off. It depends on the thickness or the depth of your mould, really. If it's something very thin, you'll be very, very careful about how you release it. But this is fairly thick, so I'm just being careful not to drop it, because I can be clumsy at times. Here we go. You can see it's got some detail already on it. But that's the side. This is the side I intend to engrave on. Nice and shiny. It's solid. You can see the excess there, just in between the parts of the leaf there, but that will break away very easily. It's very thin, so that'll break away easily. I can use an X-Acto knife or a deburring tool. There's a few little craters here and there, tiny craters here and there. And that's just where there are tiny air bubbles that were left that I missed, that I wasn't able to get rid of, and that's left a little detail, but it kind of gives it that kind of authentic look. Now you see the edges here are just flaking away very easily in my hands, but I'll use a deburring tool or a knife to get inside those little holes there and pull some of those away. Overall, I'm really pleased how it came out. That will give me a good working surface for a design to engrave onto this material. At this stage, I've never tried this, so this is an experimental stage, but I'm hoping that this video, for anyone that is interested, especially the people in my group, my Glowforge UK laser support group, if you want to try this video alone will be enough to follow along and get an idea of how to do this and try it out for yourselves. It's just nice to have something new to try, a new material to engrave on, to use with the laser. Combining these two different projects, the Aquacast project with my Glowforge, it's something I've been hoping to do for a long time. So now I've got the go-ahead from the creators of the material. I'm happy to play around with this and have some fun with it. I reached out to J Diction as well, who make the resin crete version of this, very similar version. I've done some previous videos on this, and they actually came back and said they don't recommend lasering on theirs. Now I don't know if it's because there's a slightly different material in theirs, or how they've combined the resin compound that mixes with the kind of eco stone compound that makes it combine. I don't know exactly the details. They didn't give me any reasons as to this, but the fact that Aquacast had come back and said no, it's fine, you can go ahead, means I can at least use theirs safely. And from what I've seen, Jesmonite is another one that you can use safely too. Now I use some isopropyl alcohol, 99%, just to clean off any residue, any dust. And here we are at the engraving stage. So this is my Glowforge layout. I'm going to do some test engraves first, because I want to play around with it and get the settings right. Now I've got a previous setup for a stone and pebble engrave I did a while ago. So I'm going to play around with the settings a little bit and just experiment a bit. So I'm going to put it down to 450 lines per inch, and I'm putting it to 1400 speed, just to see how this turns out. You see on the screen there, I've done a couple of previous tests as well, and I used some lower speed settings and higher DPI, and it took a long time. And I thought, okay, let's just try and reduce the DPI but increase the speed without losing any quality. So here I am. I'm going to try this out now. Just a bit of text. Small bit of text here, it shouldn't take too long. I'm hoping about 5 minutes. That palm tree design there is what I intend on using on the reverse side, on the main side, as the main project, once I've got my settings to a level that I'm happy with. 5 minutes and 11 seconds for that small bit of text. It's an engrave, I can understand why. That would have been about 7 or 8 minutes had I kept the previous settings, so I'm hoping this will still work out. A quick time lapse of the engraving. You can see it. It's strange because you mix the powder up and it all goes green. You pour it out, yet when it engraves, it's almost like it's only green on the surface because it's white underneath. But that came out well, so I was happy with that. So now it's just time to position the palm tree. I want to get as much of the palm tree within the the shape of the leaf as possible. Bit of orientation. Here's a quick time lapse of the engraving of the palm tree on the Monstera leaf, made with Aquacast. Time to check out the results. Now, I'm not sure about you, but it's picked up the detail brilliantly. I think it looks great. I think it's important to use a darker pigment, or a colourful pigment at least, so it reveals that engrave nice and clearly. The next step will be to quickly dust it off and give it a bit of a waxing to give it some protection. Now, my concern is that the wax will darken the engrave part of this, whilst also boosting the colour of the actual Aquacast itself. The greens will shine nicely, but I'm worried about the engraving darkening slightly. But that could be that it lightens again over time as it dries out, as the wax sort of cures a bit. But it gives it that extra bit of protection if I use this for a heat mat or a place mat. There could be some moisture, so I want to make sure I protect it because this stuff is porous. It's funny how you get these little blue flecks in there. That's obviously tiny bits of pigment, of the blue pigment that I'd mixed in, that have sort of remained behind, and the lasers revealed it underneath the surface. It's quite interesting, gives it a nice effect. There's no yellow, but there's definitely some blue there, little blue flecks, which I think is quite cool actually. Apologies for the blurring, the autofocus can be a bit of a pain. Here's the wax I use for this kind of eco-resin. Stone coat wax with a microfiber cloth to apply it. It's nothing special. It's nice orangey lemon scent to it, but it offers a good level of protection. You can see here it is darkening those areas of the engrave, which should lighten over time once the wax calms down a bit. It's not that dark. You can still see it. It's quite clear. So in conclusion, I'm really pleased with this project. I'm so happy to have given it a try, and I'm gonna have loads of ideas now using the engraver to add extra details to these molds, makes them different, because lots of people have the same molds and they have the same processes. So having an engraver is going to give you some extra ideas. It was great how, despite there was different levels there, it's like different levels for the laser to pick up on. Sorry, excuse the blurring again. The autofocus isn't quite working. But despite the fact there was different levels, only slight different levels, like a millimetre or so, millimetre or two, the laser still picked up, still engraved nice and evenly across there, and I'm really pleased. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm going to do some more projects on this. I hope this video is helpful to people who have a laser engraver and want to try something different. Here are some photos of the finished project. I'm going to put some little rubber feet at the bottom of it and use it as a tray in the summertime on my table when we have barbecues. So let me know what you think in the comments. I look forward to getting back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.